What's up, guys? Um, I'm here to talk about the Q&A session that NASCAR 704 had on Twitter on the 3rd. I had planned to try to join that, but I was busy and it just that came and went and I even forgot about it. Doesn't really matter though because Uh, I might have been able to get a question in. Who knows if they would have answered it? It was a very short, quick, condensed Q&A session. So I don't think anything, me joining in would have made a difference. There were like two or three people who brought up the things that I would have brought up. So I don't think we would have learned anything by me being, involved anyway. So I'm going to talk about what I think about what I saw. I went through the comments and I'm looking at the Facebook one now. So right off the bat, I did tell you guys in the last video that we were not going to learn anything substantial. I told you guys in the last video it's gonna be a very generic Q&A thing. They're not going to reveal anything big, and it's basically, I think, they just wanted to have a little, or at least make people feel like they had some contact with them and that they know that they're still working on the game. And this is because of the shutdown of the esports thing. And that's basically all this really was, right? You can tell this is what I predicted it, and to me, and in my opinion, and you guys let me know if I'm wrong. That's what this was. Nobody learned anything really big. And whatever they did reveal, it was very vague and open. In other words, their most, let me read real quick. This was like their generic response to most of the answers. Let's see. We are always looking to improve these features in future installments. That was pretty much their most consistent answer to everything, which really reveals nothing. I'm not surprised. I'm not really upset, because I knew this was the case. I want to say also that I don't. This wasn't Sean Wilson. I was under the impression that it was a Sean Wilson thing. I don't know. Maybe I misread. It just says NASCAR Heat, and we don't know who those responses are really coming from. It could just be some temp, you know, and it doesn't really matter who it was because they didn't have any real big information to give. They couldn't really answer these questions in a very precise and consistent way. It was just all vague. Same type of we are looking to add these in future installments. So yeah, it's like I didn't really feel like people knew who they were talking to, and it just felt like real generic stuff. The one thing that they kind of said, we're trying to implement testing, which is great, but that's not something that's gonna excite people. I think because it's a basic feature. I mean, at this point, you gotta have more than just basic shit we used to have or things that just aren't that big of a deal. When you think about it, testing is really just a practice session without AI, where you are on the track by yourself. How hard is that to do? So I can't get excited about stuff like that. And even that was not a concrete, like, yeah, it's coming. It was like kind of, yeah, we're working on it. And they also said that they weren't really sure yet, where they were headed, and that they didn't want to like commit to revealing something and then not being able to add it in the game because they are a small developer, which is the other thing that I heard throughout or read throughout the whole Q&A thing as I looked at it later on. I just saw this morning. And I actually had forgotten about this Q&A thing until I just I don't know how I ran into it, but I did. So I scrolled through all the comments. I saw IDK players video, and then whatever. So basically, it's what I said, what I predicted, and I told you guys, you're not going to learn anything. It's early, and it's pretty much just like, hey, letting you know we're working on the game. And I told you. So the one thing I would have asked, which was asked by two or three different people, was about the career mode. Are they going to go deeper with it? Um, I would have asked something a little more direct, like with the ownership mode. I want to see us be able to hire drivers in a second car, and not only manage the team, but also race and have a car that you own in the field, and have somebody else drive that car. And I don't care if they use fantasy drivers. This thing about having to have licensed drivers, I don't care. That is not as important as actually having that feature in the game. What does anyone care if it's another driver? And that introduces a whole mess with licensing. You can bypass that by just adding fantasy drivers, like they already have fantasy drivers in the Dirt series. But in either case, those are the things I would have brought up. And the presentation, somebody did bring that up. And again, they just gave the generic, we are looking to improve in the career mode and stuff like that. Nothing concrete, nothing direct. It could be taken any way. And these generic responses just lead me to believe that it was, who knows? It could be anyone who was running that Q&A. It wasn't Sean Wilson. Uh, and to me, I don't see what the point of any of this was. We learned nothing unless they were fishing to see what people really wanted that they could do this year. And I got to be honest at this point, before I say this, once again, they've come a long way. They've made really tangible improvements. NASCAR Heat 4 is actually an enjoyable racing experience. My problem is that that's all it is. There's nothing else going on to make this feel like a fully fleshed out, well-rounded game like 2004 that everyone brings up. And I'm sure there's people out there, if you've never played, you're probably like, I'm sick of hearing about this over 15-year-old game. What the fuck? Why is everybody? Well, it's still the pinnacle of NASCAR games for a reason. Now, I'm gonna suggest to those of you who haven't seen Elite Killer's NASCAR Heat 5 wish list video, please go check it out. He did a great job with it. He's able to do the things I wish I could do with the editing, showing things that he's talking about. And to me, that's what makes videos even better. I'm not able to do that. I'm not, I don't get paid to do this. I'm not trying to be a big channel or anything. So it's not worth the effort for me. I have a full-time job. I've said this 1,000 times before, but um, go check out Elite Killer's video. He did a great job with it, and I love how he actually showed the pre-race presentation of 2004 Thunder. For those of you who don't know about that game, go check out Elite Killer's video, and you can see how awesome that is and why presentation continues to be the single biggest problem with NASCAR games. And that's the big message I wanted to see come out from this Q&A. And it wasn't really there. And I gotta say that I'm a bit disappointed with all the people asking these. This is just my opinion, right? And I'm not trying to come down on people, but I see a lot of these DLC paint schemes questions, and people asking about things like, oh, can we get more Jeff Gordon paint schemes, and are you gonna add like legacy legend drivers? And so, I mean, that stuff is not going to add anything to the experience. The problem with this game continues to be a lack of narrative, presentation, and off track. Uh, that's what I mean by a narrative. Things that happen off track that keep you immersed as a driver and someone who is an athlete in the world of NASCAR. That's what you see in other sports titles. And I didn't really see a lot of that. I'm not surprised, but a lot of questions about legend tracks or adding fantasy tracks. Yeah, that stuff is okay. It sounds cool, but it's just not that important, in my opinion. Again, I'm only speaking for myself, but I've been talking about this since the Eutechnic series. I keep telling everybody that's the problem. That's the problem with these games. Now, 704, once again, did a great job with the on track racing experience. It's fun, and it doesn't feel like it's something over the head for people who are casual fans. You can actually jump in and have a good time racing. That's what it's supposed to be. It's a fucking arcade console game. And there are still people, and I get it, who want a more of a simulator. And you got to get realistic, man. And honestly, from a business sense, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense to try to do a full simulator for a NASCAR game on consoles. You already have that market filled by a service from iRacing. People who are super hardcore about simulator racing, they have that there's already a lane for that. This, and on top of that, this is a small developer. They're not going to be able to do a full-blown simulator. Then on top of that, games that are simulators or try to be don't have that off-track presentation and narrative that you see in games like Formula One. So yes, they can continue to improve the physics and all this other stuff, and get it a little more, give it more of a sim feel, but they shouldn't go beyond that. Stay in your lane, be a fun and immersive video game. It doesn't have to be uber realistic like iRacing. And I just, I don't know, man. That's just my opinion. So we didn't really learn anything, except that, they keep reminding us how small they are. And to this day, we don't know how many people actually are part of this development team. We keep hearing about how small they are, but we don't actually know how many people are part of that team. Is it that important? Probably not. But for me, this is a subliminal message to all of us that don't expect a lot. They did mention that they would like in the future, like I said, everything is some iteration of a future game, maybe, for everything. Paint booth, uh, and even things like being able to control the car under a caution, driving down the pits. At least, it's good that they talked about it, because it shows that it's in their mind, which is good, rather than never hearing about it, and then they may not even be thinking about stuff like that. So that's somewhat of a positive. But again, everything is, we are always looking to improve these features in future installments. For me, this Q&A was a huge waste of time. It didn't mean anything except to just let people know, yeah, we're working on the game. And yeah, it's still early, but at the same time, we're in December, and it doesn't sound like they have a firm grip on what they want to do this year. And again, a lot of questions about adding another series or this or ARCA, or I don't want to say I get upset, but I read all these comments and I'm like, what are these people doing? And you could be driving these guys down the wrong direction. Adding another series is going to do nothing to address the real issues. And that's why people bring up 2004 Thunder, because that game was a well-rounded, fully fleshed out product. Someone did ask about a trophy room. Again, since yeah, we're looking to add stuff like that in the future. I told you guys, you're not going to learn anything. You're not going to get any real direct, concrete answers to anything. A trophy room is another small feature that shouldn't even be something that we're like begging for. Um, I know it sounds like I'm upset with 704. They've come, they have improved this series every year, but there is a point where you gotta get realistic and just really the fact that they always bring up we're a small team, we're a small team. That's another thing I wanted to talk about. Now we know that they shuttled the esports side of things. I don't really even know what that means because they still have a pro league. Who's running that? What the hell is? I don't know, man. I have no idea where these guys are as a business. Now, successful businesses expand. That's another red flag for me. These guys are still crying about how small of a developer they are and reminding everyone 4 years in, 5 years in, they're working on a fifth game and we're still hearing this small team thing. Well, if you're 5 years into this thing as a game developer and you're not hearing about expansion, hiring more developers to, things I've talked about for years, you got to go all in, man. Otherwise, I'm telling you guys now, these guys aren't going to make it. They're not going to make it. They may be able to make another game or two, and then we'll hear about, they're gone. Um, NASCAR, I don't know how much they're involved, other than issuing the license. But people say, oh, so and so should develop the game. Well, people are not clamoring to make a NASCAR game. I wish they were, but they're not. I'd love Codemasters to step in. My perfect game would be a career mode where the off track is all something that you see in like 2K games, but the on track stuff, Codemasters. That would be like the perfect blend, right? Because Take Two is the best when it comes to presentation and creating a narrative for career mode. It's what sells their games. Yes, the basketball, is good, for the most part. But the thing that made that whole franchise what it is the presentation and all that other stuff. In either case, this is who we have. So whether we like it or not, they're making the game right now. But I don't see that growth. I don't see them hiring people. I don't see the expansion. We don't know anything about this stuff. They don't, all they do is remind you that they're a small team. So how small are they? And where is this going in the future? I don't know, man. We learn nothing, and I am concerned. A business that doesn't expand this deep into development in this many years, they're just piecemealing this thing along, and they've done a good job. They do try to listen to people. I give them all the credit in the world for that, as I've done 1,000 times before. And the racing in NASCAR Heat 4 is actually very fun. It's entertaining, and it doesn't feel like it's above the head of casual gamers. Like if a casual gamer wanted to try it, it wouldn't be something that's like overwhelming. And that's what it should be. It's a video game at the end of the day. A lot of people want to make these comparisons to iRacing. iRacing is a completely different animal. It's a simulator, it's hardcore, but you know, in spite of all the positives, there's a lot of negatives to iRacing. And it's expensive. It is only providing on track racing. It's not something that's going to give you all the other things that you hope to get in a video game. It's just two completely different things. Um, I know that iRacing released finally a beta for the AI. So I'm checking these videos out online and just out of curiosity. One, it's just a beta. The two, it took forever. It looks very promising, but there's nothing oval track NASCAR related. I saw one video, and supposedly they released the oval NASCAR stuff by accident. They actually took it down. So they're still working on that stuff. But at the end of the day, in the best case scenario, Yeah, you'll get that stuff with AI, but you're still not going to get presentation. You're not going to get a narrative. You're not going to get that custom career type of stuff. It's not a video game. Some people call iRacing a game. I don't think it is. It's a service. So I I just hate those comparisons. This is a video game. It's supposed to be accessible to all people, and it's supposed to be a more fleshed out, well-rounded video game. That's what it is. So that's what I want them to focus on. And I only saw two or three people ask about that, and their answers were vague, which I said they would be. We're looking to improve these features in future installments. We're looking into this. We're looking into that. But then they tell you we're a small developer and blah blah blah. So we're still not confirmed to get caution replays. Uh, the testing is not really confirmed. They're saying we're trying. These are tiny features, man. I'm looking well way beyond that. And now that they're working on a fifth game in the series, you know, I can't keep saying, yeah, you know what, this is good, but they're small and blah blah. You can't keep piecemealing this thing along if you don't go all in, hire some extra help, and get all this other stuff that I've been talking about and Elite Killers talked about and all these other guys. If you don't deliver on this stuff soon, this is gonna crumble. These guys are not gonna be making NASCAR games in a couple years. I'm telling you now. This is just speculation on my part, but this feeling I get, this gut feeling is these guys are on thin ice. And this reminds me a little bit, not as bad, but it reminds me of towards the end of Eutechnics when they went from 2014 to 2015 and they released 2015 and it was just a cut and paste rehash of 2014 with updated rosters and they updated everything to the current season. It was the same game. So it's starting to feel I'm starting to feel similarities to that. Like NASCAR Heat 5, and I hope I'm wrong, could be just a slightly polished up NASCAR Heat 4 because I don't see this company expanding like successful companies do. You can't still after 5 years be a small team piecemealing this thing along and hope to survive. You just can't do it. So it's a bad sign that they're still 5 years in talking about how small they are. And I don't know what to say about that. Money doesn't grow on trees. I get it, and there's harsh realities to this business. But I got to call into question NASCAR. You know, how involved are they? And, they made it seem like they were super involved from the beginning and all this stuff, and it's a partnership. But I don't trust NASCAR to be involved in video games, and I don't think they're really that involved other than licensing stuff. They're kind of a thorn in the side of the developer, just kind of there to remind them what they can't do. So every time you turn around, we'd like to do this, but licensing issues. I'm starting to feel, more negative than positive. Yes, NASCAR Heat 4, really, really solid step up. And it is a solid game. I love it. I jump on, and the racing itself is really fun. But that's all there is. So I jump on, I'll do a race, maybe two races, and then I'm playing something else. And I want to be able to stick to the game for long periods of time and enjoy other aspects of it. The career mode is just point and click. It just has this complete mobile game feel to it. I mean, we're 4 games deep, working on a fifth game. Still got these cringy video, messages from drivers, and when you're still doing stuff like that, this far into to a franchise, these are bad signs, man. And again, I don't feel like we were talking to somebody who's actually working on the game. It just feels like some PR guy or somebody who just said, you know what, I'll answer these questions. No solid answers. Everything is we're looking into it or we hope to. They did at one point just, very generic. We're trying to, you know, get deeper with the career mode and stuff like that. But what does that mean? They've been saying this every year. And one thing they've proven, they know how to develop and improve gameplay mechanics, the actual racing, right? Which is the heart of the game. So that's the good news. I mean, if they couldn't do that, they'd be dead in the water. So they are able to create that good, solid racing experience. The AI is fantastic. This is the best when it comes to on-track racing, right? But it gets destroyed by 2004 Thunder in every other way because of everything else. So the racing's very good and solid. That's really good news. But they haven't shown any ability or even awareness of what presentation is or a narrative or any of this stuff, of this off-track stuff. And like I said, everything you do in ownership mode or career, it just feels like a mobile game. That's not good, man. It's not good. And I think that they're in big trouble this year if they're not able to address that side of the game, the off track stuff. Forget about this fucking DLC paint schemes and adding legend drivers and fantasy tracks. That is, to me, something down the line. Take care of the most important stuff first. Otherwise, you're not going to be making these games. So I don't know what to say. And like I said before, people keep bringing up other developers and blah, blah. Nobody has a gun to their head. They can call NASCAR and say, listen, we're interested in doing a NASCAR game. And let NASCAR decide if they want to issue licenses to them. Or maybe they have an agreement with 704 where they can't issue it to anyone else, right? Which I'm sure they must have some kind of agreement like that. But then NASCAR or whatever, they can sit down and say, look, man, we're not getting far long enough. I don't know, man. I don't know the answer to that. But the point is, we're stuck with these guys for now until they're either gonna sink or swim. And again, Heat 4 is a solid racer, but if they don't address the other areas of the game, the off-track stuff, the career mode, the ownership, and things like caution replays and things like that, that should be a no-brainer at this point. I don't know what to say. And I know people are going to be like, yeah, but they're small. They can only do so much. Well, that's a fucking problem. If you can't expand from being this tiny developer, you're not going to survive. This is a pretty big title. And, you look at what Codemasters is doing with the F1 series, they're fucking knocking it out. And every other sports game, it's just, this is the worst of all sports games, in my opinion. Maybe this is better than Madden. I don't fucking know. I haven't played Madden in so long. But in terms of a fully fleshed out sports title, this is like all the way at the bottom. And I'm tired of that. And there's a lot of NASCAR fans that are tired of this. We're begging for baby features that should basic stuff. And they haven't shown us at all that they understand that presentation and a narrative for off track content is important. I, I would at least like to hear a deeper uh, comment that goes into it and says, hey, we get it. We understand. We're working towards that. Never heard something like that from these guys. It's like, it leaves that lingering thought in the back of your mind, like, are they even aware that this is important? I don't want to fucking hear. And then, like I said, I gotta call people out. A lot of these questions about Pro League. They're asking about Pro League, DLC schemes, adding more driver schemes. I mean, come on, man. That shit does not improve the overall game. Yes, okay. Could we see caution replays? All right, that's important. Future updates, possibly red flags and fire. Yes, we intend to do this for future games. Again, the same generic fucking answers, man. Would you be interested in including classic cars and tracks? Yeah, I'd like to see classic cars and tracks, but that stuff is not as important. And Yep, we definitely considered classic cars and tracks for future installments. This fucking Q&A was a huge, big, fat waste of time. So it doesn't really matter that I missed out on it. I don't know, man. It doesn't sound like to me, which they should at this point, have an idea of where they're going this year. And they're afraid to even commit to an answer, like saying, okay, this year we're working on this, this, and this. They don't even want to commit to that. I actually read one of the comments from them that said, we don't want to come out and say, yeah, this is in the works for this year and then not deliver. I get it that they don't want to promise something that doesn't come to fruition, but why have this fucking Q&A at all? This doesn't actually address anything, any of the concerns people have or questions, and it's just a big waste of time. So if I missed something, let me know in the comment section. What do you guys think? Do you agree or disagree with my thoughts? I am concerned. I'm really, I'm concerned. These guys are they just seem like overwhelmed at this point, and I'm not sure. I think they're starting to get a feel like they're not able to do certain things that people want, and they're avoiding it. They're avoiding addressing it. I don't know, man. So I really don't know what else to say, but those are my thoughts. And if there's information out there that I'm not aware of, let me know. I read almost every comment. A lot of them are very repetitive. Same old adding, god damn, too many, all these fucking questions about adding a specific driver's paint schemes and shit like that. That stuff's not important. So anyway, I look forward to your comments. Let me know what you think. Later.